They said no woman is walking into the deaf clinics, and they don't say deaf clinics, but I'm saying it. They said no woman is walking into the deaf clinics, or walking to the deaf clinics to have an abortion after 39 weeks. I said they wouldn't be walking; they'd be driving more likely. If they can afford the gas. But listen to this. Listen to this. JD and his extreme crew, they want to have a national abortion ban. They're not happy with people having to go to Illinois. They want people to get a passport and have to go to Canada. Largest governmental overreach in the history of our lifetime. It's called rape inconvenient. Like, this is not a guy who's ready to protect the rights of women.
Ryan then pressed Vance to outline the exceptions he would accept in an abortion ban.
Listen to this.
An exception in the case of incest, for example. I've heard a number of pro-life people say that. But an incest exception looks different at 3 weeks of pregnancy versus 39 weeks of pregnancy.
Juanita, I can't even hear this one more time, okay? Please clear this up, because people are not walking into abortion clinics at 39 weeks pregnant and saying, I've changed my mind. Yet we hear this over and over from Republicans. It's disgusting and it's not true.
She's saying it's not true. Anybody?
Well, if it wasn't true, it wouldn't be on the books, right? If it wasn't a real thing, we wouldn't be talking about it. Because people...
you know the problem there. You're making too much common sense there. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that they're gaslighting the public. I think that it's also really problematic when we talk about people who are pregnant due to rape or incest. Because what that says is to people who were born or conceived out of rape or conceived out of incest, that their lives don't matter and they should have been snuffed out in the womb, right? We have actual living, breathing human beings who were conceived in that way. So I think that we have to kind of change the tone of that. I also think that when we have these conversations, we have to call terminations due to the health of the mother something different than an abortion. An abortion is an elective procedure that the woman chooses in order to end the life growing in her womb. Okay, when we're talking about a woman who had an ectopic pregnancy, or we're talking about a woman who has a dead fetus, in her body, that's very different. That's not voluntary. That's not elective. And again, like I said last week, as Black women, we didn't vote on this in the beauty shop. We didn't vote on this at the nail shop. We didn't vote on this at the lash bar, okay? We did not talk about this at all. But we have women, these Black female faces, again, because Black women in this country are the face of validity. If you want to sell something to the public, to the American public, go get a Black woman. She's going to say it because we are, again, the mother figures of this country. And so you have these Black women who get paid by these leftists to go speak on our behalf. And they can't do that. You understand? They've been doing this since the early 1900s, since Mary Bethune. Mary Bethune, who started the Mississippi Health Project. The reason that they started that project, they call it a health project, but the real reason is because they said that the women in the South were breeding like weeds, and they had to stop them from breeding.
Margaret Sanger.
That's what this is all about. They didn't advocate for to improve the health care, right? Imagine if they would have spent the past 100 years advocating for maternal health care when it comes to Black women and giving birth, and what that would look like for women now. But instead, they use all of that political power to push killing babies.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say that the reason why it's primarily in the Black community is because Black women don't have health care. And my question is, so what did they do during slavery? Because they most definitely didn't have any health care, and they were producing babies left and right. And the white Democrat wanted them to produce because then they would have more slaves. The population for the black population during that time was the highest ever in this country. And then, just like Doc said, when Margaret Sanger came along, because Black people were able to vote, Black people started to have rights. They wanted to make sure that they kept the population down as much as possible. That's why it fluctuated around 13% forever.
But we can't just blame the white Democrat. We also got to talk about the Black elite.
Oh, no, yeah, elite, most definitely. Most definitely.
And for me, that's who I focus on, the Black intellectual class, my peers, okay? I went to Hampton. I'm in an MPHC, both my parents, all that kind of stuff. I did this whole Black those. Okay, whatever it means to be a Black intellectual in this country, I check all those boxes. And what I've seen from my peers is that they allow these white liberals to come and use us because we believe that we are the notable exceptions. We believe that although we got out, although we made it, the average Black person cannot. So it's up to us to control these Negroes. And so when Margaret Sanger came to the scene, she also went and got that
she went to the Black churches.
Yep. She went to the Black churches. She went to the HBCUs. She went to the sororities and fraternities, right? So then those people, because they are looked at as an authoritative figure in Black America, they start saying, Essie, girl, you don't need to have 8 kids. Have 2 and take this pill. Or, they were fixing women, right? They would tell women that they had tumors, and Black people were selling this to them. So before we talk anything about these white Democrats, we got to talk about what happened in the trial.
I end up talking about all of them because I think all of them are to blame. I mean, I don't leave out any of them. I mean, because we're seeing the same thing take place today. They just figured out how to change their tactics to manipulate people on a mass scale. And they're not only today, they're not only doing it to Black women, but they're doing it to Hispanics and they're doing it to white women. They're doing it to any single person who has an ovary. They don't care. That's how Satan works. Satan can care less about the complexion. He cares about destroying the soul. He cares about destroying anything that God has created. And God created all man, and that's his job. I got one job, and that's to destroy everything that God created, every single thing. Because God created all of these wonderful colors. Every single thing that we see, God has created, and God created it was good. And man and female, and they want to destroy that. They want to destroy everything. And the reason why I bring up the Democrats, because the Democrats, they all act like they don't want to abort children for, just for a birth control or any other reason. They say they only want to bring up for incest and rape and other medical conditions. But then when you ask someone like Fetterman, when does he think abortion should be allowed? What do you think he says? Listen.
Do you support any restrictions on abortion?
I don't. I've always believed...
Even in the 3rd trimester?
I believe that choice is between a woman, her doctor, and a God if she prays to one.
Let's get Kim in here.
Go ahead,
Kim has to say.
Okay. This all still goes back to controlling the population. Abortion ain't never had nothing to do with healthcare at all. Everyone that I know that has had an abortion, it had nothing to do with incest. It had nothing to do with rape. It had nothing to do with it. It had